Boker Tov, Rabbi Eric Solomon once again from Raleigh, North Carolina. Morning Torah is Thursday, May 7th. I want to talk again about Parshat Emor, Torah portion in the book of Leviticus, in the middle, chapters 22, 23, 24. There's a section right at the end dealing with the blasphemer, the one who blasphemes, blasphemer. And it's not an easy section, especially for someone like me. Because basically, if you read the text, there's a man who doesn't describe him, it describes just his parents. His mother's from the Israelite camp, his father is Egyptian. His mother's name is Shlomit bat Divri. And apparently there's a fight in the camp, it says. And then he ends up cursing, Mekalel et Hashem. He curses God's name, blasphemy. And eventually, he is stoned to death. He brought to this end. So this is not an easy text, to see that someone curses God's name, and the Midrash, the commentaries, are not exactly my top 10 favorite, commentaries on it. Say, well, why has happened? Well, because his mother, Shlomit bat Divri, she Divri comes from ledaber. She spoke gossip, or she spoke to everybody. Somehow she might have been licentious, or she spoke somehow the roots of her, the fact that the Egyptian father was involved. The son felt lost in the Israelite community, and that's why this happened. So the explanations given by the Midrash and commentary, they're not exactly where I'm at, certainly, sitting here in 2020, 5780 here in North Carolina, America. But I would say that, it comes down to some basic points. And one of them is the establishment of community norms, and how the community is allowed to establish community norms, and that exists to this very day. There are those that you can say, these are our norms, and if you want to follow these norms, great. If you don't want to follow these norms, then you have the option to leave. But to go and to curse it publicly, we can keep you out of the camp. Now, again, not validating stoning to death, but I am saying, it's possible to have stand up for what you believe in a community. That would still be for this day. But the piece I want to focus on the most here, I want to really bring it home, is what it means when a person does something ritually, curses God, says an aspect of God or God's image, wants to denigrate it. So here's my take on this issue, right? I have people in my congregation who are, and by the way, I don't disagree with this, who are very keen on being sure that our congregation maintains certain rituals out of respect for the tradition, out of respect for God. So, for example, if someone enters our congregation, Jewish or not Jewish, is not wearing a head covering into the sanctuary, person will go and urge them nicely, hopefully, to wear that, out of respect. When the Torah comes out of the ark, and, everyone's expected, if they're able to rise, to actually face the Torah, out of respect. This is an image of God's gift to us, right? So we have community norms as well. So, it's Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, we're fasting, Day of Atonement. If someone was sitting with, 900 people in the sanctuary on Beth Bayer, and someone decides to order from Uber Eats, a pork sandwich and eat it in the middle of a Yom Kippur service in the sanctuary, they too, I wouldn't say they get stoned to death, but people wouldn't be pleased. And this person would be breaking ritual norms. He said, look, you want to do that? Zygazon, be healthy, but go somewhere else. What are you doing eating this here? You would be, in a sense, cursing may be a strong word, but you're basically going against community norms and kind of sticking it in a certain way. That's what it means, I think, blasphemy is like going right in the middle of the camp, right in the middle of everyone, and really sticking it to God, but also in front of everybody else. It's a public, attack on God and God's image. So again, that we have these to this day. We have norms we're going to set, especially about rituals. But what I want to say is that, I looked up the word blasphemy in the dictionary online, and it says, an attack, a verbal attack, a denigration, a cursing of either the deity or of any of the sacred objects of the deity. And the beautiful teaching I love from Ibn Joshua Heschel about this, he says, you'll see the relation in a second. So why are there no graven, why is God obsessed, the Torah obsessed with graven images? And why is it when you're in a shul, you see no images of God or images in general of human beings on the walls or on the stained glass, if there's stained glass? We avoid those images. Why we avoid so much? Because he says, basically, that We don't put images or graven images up, not because we're so obsessed with idolatry, which is one piece of it, but that's not the main issue. The issue is because there is only one image that is graven, that is like God in this world. It's not something we draw and sculpt. It's us. Human beings are God's most sacred object. So come back. When someone curses God's sacred object, the Torah, I don't know, Judaism, belief, okay, it's a problem. Eats pork on Yom Kippur, it's an issue. But it's also an issue when people desecrate, denigrate, attack, blaspheme, in a sense, God's most sacred object. Human beings. Just recently, there was a African-American man jogging through a part of Georgia, and two white men, we'll wait to see all the legal piece, but according to video and reports, shot him. Unarmed. Didn't seem to call the police. Didn't seem to... If you had concerns, there's many things you could do to address the situation of someone in your neighborhood you're concerned about. Just to go shoot them. This is also blasphemy. And what I want is an obsession about the ritual. Kashrut, Shabbat, wearing a kippah, honoring the Torah, honoring Yom Kippur. The same obsession and deep concern for that, those objects, those rituals, I want that adapted to God's most sacred object, human beings. That's blasphemy too. So I want to put out here, one of my other teachers, Levi Lauer, once taught me, he said, I have no issue with someone who's extremely meticulous in their practice of some ritual, like keeping kosher. In fact, he told a story of one of his relatives who wouldn't eat at his own house. He keeps kosher because they were so obsessed. Their level of keeping kosher was so strict they couldn't even drink a glass of water barely at his house. So I don't have an issue with that, as long as my relative is as intense in keeping kosher as they are in love their neighbor as herself. Intense and obsessed with honoring God and the Torah, they all should be obsessed with honoring their mother and father and giving tzedakah. I hope they give tzedakah according to Jewish law to the right number. So the issue is not that blasphemy is wrong, because it is a problem. The issue is when you say blasphemy is only about sacred objects, things, and not the most important sacred object. Human beings. So I want to pray specifically for this gentleman, sadly, who was killed, and his family. I pray that justice is done, but I pray we see it as a religious issue. What happened there is not just murder, although that appears to be the case. It also was blasphemy from a religious perspective. Anytime we denigrate and desecrate and destroy God's most sacred object, human beings. A day of peace, a day of shalom, a day of safety. Boker tov.